Okay. So this has like not been working. So let's try this again. Fingers crossed. Okay. So today we're going to learn more about factored form, but we're going to go back over some of the older stuff first. So with vertex form, I can pull the vertex straight out. I just have to flip the sign of the number in parentheses. And then since the vertex started at 0, 0, I know that it moved left 4 and down 1. And because of that 2 in the front, I know that it's a stretch, which makes it more narrow. So it looks like that. Domain for quadratics is all real numbers because it's got arrows on both sides, so it goes to the left and right for forever. And range, since everything is above the vertex, I'm going to say that y is greater than or equal to -1. Okay. For this one, it's standard form, so it's a little more complicated. That's where I use A, B, and C with this formula. So in this case, that would be -4 over 2 times a half. The negatives cancel out, so that becomes 4 over 1, which is just 4. And then I plug that in. To the equation to get the y, and half of 16 is 8, minus 16 is -8, plus 7 is -1. So my vertex is the point for -1. Because of that 1/2, that's a compression, and that makes my parabola wider, which is kind of an ugly parabola, but you get the idea. When writing in vertex form, this is like the foundation of vertex form. So I take these numbers and put them in, but I flip the sign when putting it inside the parentheses. That number just comes down at the end, and whatever A is goes in front. Okay. So here we go. X and Y intercepts. So these equations here are all in factored form. And the thing that's nice about factored form is it's great for finding intercepts. So especially X intercepts, Y intercepts, kind of whatever. Anyway, so when you are finding an X intercept, as we've learned before, you do that by plugging in 0 for Y. So I have 0 equals x minus 3 times x minus 7. Now, there's something called the zero product property. And what that means is if you have two things that are multiplied together and they equal 0, then either one or both of them has to be 0, because the only way to multiply stuff together to get 0 is 0. It's kind of like a common sense thing, but it's called the zero product property, because product is, when you multiply things together. Anyway, so in order to find the x-intercepts, I just take each factor individually and set it equal to 0. So I have x minus 3 equals 0 and x minus 7 equals 0, which are two of the simplest equations to solve, right? If x minus 3 equals 0, I would add 3 to both sides and just get x equals 3. Essentially, you're just flipping the sign when it's like this. Here, same thing. Add 7 to both sides and you get x equals 7. So my two x-intercepts, because parabolas, a lot of times they will sometimes have two x-intercepts. Sometimes they can have 0 or 1, but that's beside the point. Will be the points 3, 0, and 7, 0. Those are my x-intercepts. So to find the y-intercept, I plug in 0 for x, right? So I get 0 minus 3 and 0 minus 7, which is essentially negative 3 times negative 7, which in this case is 21. So my y-intercept is the point 0, 21. So none of this stuff is like totally new. It's just we haven't really seen it this way before. So I'm going to do a few more. Hopefully my computer doesn't freak out on me and I don't have to do this 500 million times. You all obviously did not see those times because I had to start over, but fingers crossed. Anyway, so again, for the x-intercepts, 0 equals the factor form. So I'm going to take each factor and set it equal to 0. Now for this one, it's a one-step equation. It's very simple. We're essentially flipping the sign. X equals negative 6. Here, it's a two-step equation, but I feel pretty confident that you guys can solve those. So I would add 4 to both sides. So 3x equals 4, and then divide by 3. So we just leave it as a fraction. Now, I will tell you, because these equations end up being so simple, if you do them in your head, I am fine with it. Like, that's fine. Just make sure that you write x-intercepts as points because they are an x-intercept is a point on a curve. Okay, so that's just an important thing to remember. Then as far as the y-intercept, just plug in 0 for x. So 3 times 0 plus, minus 4. So that becomes 0 plus 6 is 6. 3 times 0 is just 0 minus 4 is negative 4. Multiply those together and you get negative 24. So my y-intercept is the point 0, negative 24. Cool? Awesome. Okay. 2 more. So for the y-intercept, I'm plugging in 0 for y. And because of the zero product property, I'm going to just set each factor equal to 0. So again, here I have a two-step equation. So I get 5x equals negative 1. Divide both sides by 5 and I get x equals negative 1. Cool. Here, it's a one-step equation. I would add 6 to both sides. So you're essentially just flipping the sign. So my 2x-intercepts are the points negative 1/5, 0, and 6, 0. Okay, so just those two things, just put them in points. For my y-intercept, plug in 0 for y. I mean, for y-intercept, you plug in 0 for x. Okay, so I get 5 times 0 plus 1 times 0 minus 6. So in this case, that 5 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. So I get 1 times negative 6, which is just negative 6. So the y-intercept is the point 0, negative 6. Okay. I'm nervous because my computer has not freaked out yet, and I'm really hoping that it doesn't freak out because it has been very frustrating. Okay, so last one. This one looks different, but it's still factored form, and I still do the same thing, right? So for my x-intercepts, I set the equation. I make y 0, and I will set each factor equal to 0. So in this case, the first factor is just x, so it doesn't have to be solved at all. The second one, to solve that, you would add 4 to both sides, or essentially just flip the sign. right? So x equals 4. So my x-intercepts are the point 0, 0, and 4, 0. Cool. For the y-intercept, I plug in 0 for x. So 0 times 0 minus 4, which just becomes 0 times negative 4. Anything times 0 is 0. So it's the point 0, negative 4. Okay. I know I probably went through that kind of fast. I'm sorry. I'm freaking out about my computer. Wish me luck that it doesn't freak out until I get this uploaded, because I would have to do it all over again, and that would not be fun for me. Anyway, please come to the live meet. We'll go over this. We're going to do problems like this. The second half of the week, it's stuff very similar to this. I'm just going to actually have you factor instead of me giving you factored form. But, you know, it shouldn't be too bad of a week. Fingers crossed, hopefully. But I will see you guys at the live meet.